Alright, so I tried to come up with just a really simple, easy finger picking, fingerstyle version of Silent Night for all you beginners out there. And basically, it's just going to be kind of a really simplified version. And after you get it, you can kind of maybe try to spice it up a little bit. And at the end of the lesson, if you have it down and you want to learn some more, hit the like button. Leave me a comment that says, "Hey, I want to learn a little bit more about this song," or if you have another song you want to learn, go ahead and leave me a comment about that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started on this lesson. So the finger picking I am doing with just my thumb, index, and middle finger for all of the finger picking with your finger picking hand. If you're right-handed, that'll be your right hand. Left-handed, that'll be your left hand. So starting with some really basic chords. We have G, C, and D. There is one chord that's a little more advanced, that's kind of a stretch, and I'll try to show you an alternate way to play that when we get to it. But let's go ahead and start. So you're going to play a G first, G chord. So we're playing a simplified G, so your middle finger is going to set here on the 3rd fret of the E, and your ring finger is going to be up here on the 3rd fret of the B, okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to start this off with your thumb plucking the low E and your middle finger plucking the B. Alright, so that just gives you a 2-note chord with the low E and the B. So following that, we're going to pluck with our index finger on the G, thumb on the D. Alright, right after that, we're going to shift our right hand just down slightly and use your middle finger to pluck the high E, and then your index finger to pluck the B. So that gives you that part of the melody there. So starting from the beginning, thumb on low E, middle finger on B. Alright, a little slower. Now if you want for that high E to B, you can use your ring finger and your middle finger to pluck that if you want. I mean, that might make more sense in the fact that those fingers are kind of there already in that area. But I thought just to keep things super simplified, I would use middle finger and index and thumb for all of this. So feel free to make little adjustments like that if you want along the way. So one more time, sorry if this is moving kind of slow, one more time, you're going to pluck thumb and middle, so thumb is on low E, middle finger is on B, so you're following that with G and D, index and thumb. Then you're going to shift down, and with middle finger and index you'll hit high E and B. So now we're going to let off on our fretting hand. We're going to let off with ring finger on that 3rd fret. So now that B string is open. Okay, so that's the next part. And what that is thumb again on low E, middle finger on B. Okay. So it's a walk down to the D, back up to the B. So it's middle finger and thumb, then index, thumb, index, middle. So here's what we've got. Okay, one more time. going to repeat that. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the toughest chord in the progression. So what this is is a D chord, but you're not going to play it like a standard D. It's going to be just slightly different. So your index finger is going to play 2nd fret of G, middle finger, 3rd fret of B. Normally you would have your ring finger there to play a D chord, but we're going to use our middle finger there because we have to reach our pinky way up here to 5th fret of the high E. So that gives you a chord that sounds like this. Okay. Now if you can't get this, it's just work at it for a while. Try to get it this way, but I'll show you one other way to try to play this. So let me explain the finger picking real quick. So now your thumb's plucking the D, middle finger's plucking the high E. Okay. So thumb is plucking D, middle finger's plucking high E together, then index plucks B, thumb plucks G. Then you go back to index, back to middle. A little slower. Okay, so that right there is, I think, the toughest part of this whole song, because you got to reach with your pinky like that. Now if you can't do that, try it like this. We're going to play a D shape up here. So your ring finger is on the 7th fret of G, pinky, 7th fret of B, index finger, 5th fret of high E. And you're going to pluck those same strings. So thumb plucks the D, middle finger plucks the high E. So that might be a little easier for some of you out there rather than doing this kind of big reach with the D chord. So just from the top, just to sort of recap. All right, or if that's easier for you. All right, so when we get here, we're going to then shift down to a standard D. So your index finger stays where it is, ring finger jumps down here to 3rd fret of the B, middle finger 2nd fret of the high E. So that was, again, kind of that same pattern we just used before. So thumb on D, middle finger on high E, index, and then thumb, and then index. One more time. All right. So from the top, okay. So now we're moving on to a C chord from this point. So index finger, 1st fret of B, middle finger, 2nd fret of D, ring finger, 3rd fret of A. Now, tough part here, we got to add pinky on 3rd fret of high E. So that we can follow that melody. Now on this, still similar pattern, thumb now on A string, middle finger, high E again. So that's thumb on A, middle finger, high E together, and then index on B, thumb gets G, and then back, index to B, and then middle finger to high E. So right after that, we're going to go to a G again. Okay, very similar pattern again with the fingers. So thumb's getting low E this time, middle finger's getting B this time, and index G, thumb D, index G, middle B. Okay, so now we're going on to the next little section here. So what we've got now, I'm going to go back to C. So index finger sets down first fret of B, middle finger second fret of D, ring finger third fret of A. So we're going to go thumb on A, middle finger high E, index B, thumb G, index finger B, middle finger high E. All right. All right. So right after we play that, we're going to set our pinky down on third fret of high E and then pluck thumb and middle finger A and high E again. So we've got okay, one more time. So that's just index on B, thumb on G. Okay, then we have a tiny little melody thing to play that sounds like this. That's just middle finger comes down here to second fret of high E and then to open. So it's going to be like so one more time, a little slower. A little slower. Okay. And we're going to go back to G. Okay, that was thumb on low E, middle finger on B. Remember, you're holding B down here. So remember, that's that shift. Middle finger, index, high E, B. Okay, then let off ring finger. A little slower. So you should see some patterns starting to develop now with how your fingers are kind of working together. So we've been going at this for about 15 minutes now. Let's do a quick recap up to this point. All right. So, following that, we're going to go back to the C again. So that's a replica of that riff on the C before. So thumb A, middle finger high E. Okay, back to G. So that's the shift riff. Okay. Now the the final run here is the Sleep in Heavenly Peace melody. So we're going to jump up to that dreaded D again. Okay, so that's thumb on D, middle finger high E. All right. Now here's where it gets a little funky. So to get this riff, so we have to do some fancy finger work. So we're starting here with the spread out D, index fingers on 2nd fret of G, middle finger 3rd fret of B, pinky 5th fret of high E. Right after that, so we go. Now we're going to slide pinky all the way up here to 8th fret of high E. Then ring finger is going to bar the 7th fret of G and B. And you're going to go thumb on D, middle finger high E. So that's index on B, thumb on G. Then followed by index finger 5th fret of high E. Ring finger 7th fret of B. And just using middle finger on high E, index finger on B. So you've got a little slower. Now we're going to jump back down to a G, but this time we're going to play a G with our pinky added here on the 3rd fret of high E. So ring finger again, 3rd fret of B, and then middle finger, 3rd fret of low E. And then you're going to pluck thumb, low E, middle finger, high E. So that's So this is the highest, I think one of the higher notes in the melody, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So we're on peace right now. So what that is, middle finger, 7th fret, high E, ring finger, 8th fret of B. Thumb is going to pluck G this time, middle finger, high E. A little slower. All right, so from that G, all right, so let's recap all the way up to there. So now we're in the home stretch. The next part to finish out the song is this. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing a full G. So pinky's on 3rd fret of high E, ring finger 3rd fret of B, middle finger 3rd fret of low E. And you're going to pluck with your thumb on low E and your middle finger on high E. Then you're going to bring your thumb down to G. index finger gets B, bounce back to G, see that? Then you're going to let off with your ring finger on that B string. A little slower. Okay. So right after that we're going to go to a D. Index finger jumps to 2nd fret of the G, ring finger, 3rd fret of B. So you're going to pluck with your thumb on the D, middle finger on the B. So that was thumb and middle together, then index on G, and then back to thumb on D. And you're going to, right after that, you're going to move your index finger to 1st fret of B, middle finger, 2nd fret of G, and you're going to pluck with your middle finger on B, index finger, G. Okay, so that's alright. Now you're going to jump middle finger to 3rd fret of low E, index finger is going to pluck G. And now that's essentially the end right there. But what I do is I take my thumb and go to D, and then I alternate between G with my index finger and D. So okay. So I hope that helps you get a good start on this song. I know that was kind of a lot to take in. So what I would suggest is going back and even using the playback speed feature on YouTube and just slow it down to like 0.75 on some parts, and that will help you kind of visualize and see what I'm doing, and also just be able to hear things a little slower. But go ahead and hit that subscribe and that like button, and I will see you on the next video.